Hello again, and welcome back to Forward Progress. Today's video is specifically about growth. I'm coming to you today on another day in the COVID-19 self-quarantine lockdown status, and just to get you so you know where we're at in the situation right now. The numbers as of just before I recorded this video, we're currently at just over 1 million people worldwide that have been infected with COVID-19. Just over 59,000 lives have been lost due to COVID-19. And those are reported numbers. There may be more. On a positive note, just over 228,000 people have fully recovered. That's almost 250,000 people, which is that. To me, that's exciting. Obviously, that's not meant to downplay any of the lives lost or any of the pain or the people that are going through that sickness and recovery right now. Just looking at the positive as I can. And today's message is really meant to talk about how we can use this time and grow ourselves and make something positive out of this if possible, right? Because right now we're all going through a lot of different things. We've got, self-quarantine going on. You've got the lockdown. Most schools have been canceled for the rest of the school year. You've got isolation. People have being self-isolated. You've got layoffs and furloughs that have happened. But we also have a lot of amazing things that have been happening. You've got the essential workers out there that are truly risking their lives, risking their health and their well-being to take care of each and every one of us, whether that's the healthcare industry, nurses, doctors, and everyone else in the hospitals and in urgent care and all over the country and all over the world. But then you've also got truck drivers, transportation people that are delivering goods and services and produce and foods around the country and equipment, and you've got manufacturing companies that are switching up their manufacturing to create more masks, more ventilators, more equipment needed in this pandemic and in this frightening time. So there's a lot of amazing things happening while we're going through all of this scary stuff. And part of my thought process was one, we need to recognize those essential workers a little bit better. And I saw a video about this earlier, and I'm not trying to steal content or ideas, but it's something that really hit home with me, and I thought I'd share it with you if you haven't seen it. But the essential workers, you're not essential workers because of COVID-19. COVID-19, the virus, the pandemic going around the world right now, did not make you essential. You were always essential. Whether that's in transportation and healthcare or in any other industry that is right now working hard through this process, you've always been essential. You've been essential to our way of life and our everyday life and status as we go through, whether that's to drive from here to there to feed our families, to do anything and everything that we do on a daily basis. We could not do it without you. And too often that goes unrecognized. Too often that gets taken for granted. And so I do want to take a moment to shout out all of the essential workers out there in all of those industries. And if I left one out, I apologize. But thank you. Thank you for what you do. And again, that's just trying to find the positive in what we're experiencing. And part of that, like I said, is taking me down that thought process of, well, how do we get better? We've seen some amazing things. I've seen some amazing things with different governments and different leaders around the world and companies that have stepped up and really done some amazing things and taken care of their employees and their communities and all of the outreach that's happening right now. There's a lot of amazing things and a lot of positive things that are coming out of this. Well, how can we personally make sure that we get some positive out of this as well? And that's really what this particular video is about. Growth through the COVID-19 pandemic. So I wanted to give you some ideas, some general ideas. Take it for what you will and do with it what you want. But but I'll give you some ideas of what you could do over the course of the next few weeks while we're locked down and recovering. Right now we're locked down until the end of April here in Michigan at the very bare minimum. That's the recommended stay-at-home order is until the end of April. That's 4 more weeks from now. So, and it could be longer. You've got time. Utilize that time to make yourself better. So here's some ideas. And this is, if you've ever attended one of my classes, then you'll know that the very first thing that I always recommend, if you want to improve yourself, the first thing that I will tell you to do is read. Read a book. Open a book. Spend some time in front of the Word. And when I say that, any book, right? Any book. It doesn't have to be a self-help professional development book. Now, I do have a lot of those that I truly do like, and I'm more than happy to recommend. But any book will exercise the muscle between your ears. Anything that you read will increase your vocabulary, increase your confidence, your ability to speak and communicate with another human being. The more you read, the more creative your brain becomes. And it just helps you throughout life. So that'll be my first recommendation for growth through the COVID-19 pandemic. Read something. If you wanted a couple recommendations, it could be anything. Like I said, it could be for fun. They don't have to be self-development or professional development books. Some fun books. I mean, you've got, rather than recommend books, I'll recommend a couple of authors. I'm a huge fan of Nicholas Sansbury Smith. He's got a few different series of books out there. If you like action and even a little science fiction rolled into some of those, a great book when it comes to fiction. And another one, Andrew Fukuda. Really like his Hunt trilogy. So that's just a couple of recommendations for fun. But then I will give you a couple of development suggestions. And these are the two, if you've been to any of my classes, you know these are the first two that I will recommend. How to Win Friends and Influence People in the Digital Age by Dale Carnegie. It's really the modernized version of his original How to Win Friends and Influence People that has been around for 70 years, 80 years now. And it really just digs into what it takes to connect with another human being, what it takes to be able to communicate in a great way and build lifelong connections. And that just leads to successful relationships, successful careers throughout the rest of your life. So it's a great book to read if you haven't already. And another one, a more modern one, I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek, and I would highly recommend his Start With Why. Start With Why really just kind of gives you some insight into the thought process, what we should put first when we start to make decisions. And this isn't only for business owners. That's really kind of the concept of the book, but that doesn't mean you have to be a business owner to take something out of that. It's understanding your thought process and the decisions that you make every day in your career, in your life in general. So that's my second recommendation for you. What are some other things that we can do to grow ourselves? Break out some arts and crafts time, right, with family. It's amazing. Even if you're alone and you're quarantined alone, art can be a great way to express yourself and relieve anxiety. And we've done a few art projects in my house. Me and my 7-year-old, we actually painted a couple of our big sliding glass windows. We've got a mural on one and like some stained glass art on another, and then we decorated our front door, completely dedicated to our senior, for her graduation that she won't be able to attend, so we decorated a whole door for her. That art, it helps relieve some of that stress. And there are a lot of things that you can do besides just paint windows. You can draw something, and you don't have to be good at it. Draw, paint on paper. With the technology we have today, you don't even need to have the paper and the pencils and the crayons and the colored pencils and paint and all of that. You can do it on an iPad. You can do it on most of the smart technology we have today with a smartphone, whether it's an Android phone or an Apple device. You can draw right on the screen. You can color and fill in and paint on the screen, and it will alleviate some of the anxiety and stress, and it will help grow you and your creative side. It's amazing what that can do and all of the technology that's out there. You can learn. Take some time to learn something new. And there's a lot of things that you can learn. You can take online classes. There are a lot of colleges still offering online classes right now. Even if you're not signed up for anything already, sign up for something. Yale just released a completely free, how to be happy in life certification that you can do completely for free from Yale. That's pretty cool, and it's all online. But there are a lot of other colleges that are doing those same kind of things. Learn a new language. You can do that from an app on your phone. You can take internet classes. You can do whatever you need to do. But man, learning another language, that's something that can benefit you for the rest of your life. Being bilingual, learning Spanish, French, learn Mandarin. As a matter of fact, right now I'll shout out a language that too many people don't know anything about, and that's ASL, American Sign Language. Take a minute to learn how amazing sign language can be. Not only would that help you communicate with our the deaf society and the deaf community in our country, but all of the situations where that can become useful, it's pretty powerful, right? So you can take some time to learn those kind of things. Take a minute to, write, whether it's write a poem, write a story, write a journal. I think that's a great idea. And that can really build into some self-reflection in the future. Write down all of those thoughts, the experiences that you have throughout this pandemic, all the things that are running through your mind, all of those anxieties that are building up on you, write them down. And as you write them down, not only will it help relieve some of that pressure in the back of your mind, but in the future, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you can self-reflect on that and really see how far we've come as a society. That's something we can do to grow ourselves, to write things down. Maybe learn an instrument, play some music, right? I bought a guitar before this all happened and always had a reason, an excuse. I didn't have enough time to learn it. Well, I'm learning it now, right? Whatever it is that you can do to grow yourself, do it. And here's a challenge for you. Exercise. Right? All of that, I don't have time to exercise, I don't have time to hit the gym. Well, those excuses are kind of gone, aren't they? 3 years ago, I did a running challenge. For those of you that know me, remember, I did a 250-day running challenge. It was a challenge originally brought to my family by a coach, a middle school track and cross-country coach that challenged my daughter, who's now the graduating senior, back when she was in middle school. Challenged her and her team to run 1 mile, just one mile every single day, no excuses, no stopping. So you couldn't run half a mile, walk a little bit, and run another half a mile. You had to run the whole mile. It could be as slow as you needed to, but you had to do the whole thing. I thought, well, how hard could that be? 3 years ago, I weighed 70 pounds more than I do now. And there were multiple times I wanted to throw myself into traffic. It hurt. I hated life. I had the internal argument constantly about how stupid I was. Why was I doing this to myself? People who run, I just don't get that mentality. But I did it. And every day it got a little bit easier. And suddenly it just became a way of life. And 250 days later, I felt so accomplished. But then I'd done my challenge. It was over. And I went on with life and kind of left it behind. Well, I wanted to do it again. So I challenged myself to do it a second time. Now I know that I can do it because I weigh 70 pounds less than I did then. I also have the benefit of having a treadmill in my basement. So even if the weather's bad, I've got a place I can run. So today is day 3 of my 250-day challenge. You'll probably hear more about that in periodic updates through my videos if you pay attention. But exercise, you can do that. Whether that's running, jogging, an elliptical, some bicycling, you can. Just because we're social distancing doesn't mean you have to lock yourself in the house. You can still get out, you can still do other things, enjoy nature, take a walk. All of those things are good for you and can help you grow mentally, spiritually, physically throughout this process, right? And what I want to leave you with is an understanding that what we're going through right now, it's historical. This is a historical situation that will be taught in history classes for generations. We have not seen a pandemic of this size, of this impact in decades, if not a century, especially not with the size of a population that we have right now in today's day. This will be talked about for years and years and years to come. So know that you're part of history right now. We are all part of history. Not only are we part of history, but we can get through this together. We can help each other through this, and we will be part of the rebuild, and we will be part of life after COVID-19. Right? This doesn't define us. This just helps shape us. We can't decide the obstacles and issues we deal with in life, but we can decide on how we handle it. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to find ways to grow and to get better through this process. So I would love to hear what you're going to do to grow yourself through this pandemic. I'd love to hear some of the things that you're doing to try to make yourself better so that we come out of the other side a little bit better than we were at the beginning of this process. Comment down below. Let me know what pieces if you took something away from this, fantastic, and I'd love to hear it. If you've got something else already planned or you're already working on something, I'd love to hear that as well. So comment down below. Don't forget, please subscribe to our channel, and that way you can get our videos as I post them more and more often. You can see some of my other videos over here as well. So I look forward to seeing you all again soon, and until then, please be safe, stay healthy, and God bless.